get your kitchen knives out, your machetes out, pick the bricks up, but they're bricks, right? And go and attack them. Tommy Robinson is a open, blatant, Zionist-supported scumbag.
If there was a war and it kicked off, I would be there on the front line fighting for Israel.
Put out a tweet of an image of this brown guy with a knife in his hand with a wad of money on a rubber dinghy and basically said, these people are causing you harm.
So how do you explain the Muslims chasing the white people?
Oh my goodness, these Muslim thugs are taking over our streets.
Were the Muslims also manipulated in their reactions and their response?
That if the state wanted to, they could switch on us just like that.
So we can't act like this is home forever. It isn't.
Because the system has failed them. But the very system which has failed them has tricked them, brainwashed them, radicalized them into believing.
Right, so we met at the wedding, isn't it?
We did.
How's the food?
The food, bro, was very spicy. And you know, any tiny mirch masala just sets me off. So I was sweating buckets, man. But the food was very nice. Shout. No, I was sweating, bro. I was drenched.
Yeah, you're Pakistani,
I am.
but you can't take spice.
It's not that I can't take. I can take spice. My body can't take spice.
So you can't take spice.
There's a difference, you see. I can take the spice. I eat the spice.
You can take the spice.
I live off the spice. I was born in Pakistan, but my body reacts
You sound like Trump.
in an unsavory way.
Okay, all right. But wait, this is the important question, isn't it? Bengali food or Pakistani food?
Yeah, we spoke about this in the wedding.
Yeah, but I'm neither, so I can say that. I can ask that question.
Neither.
Yeah, neither.
Astaghfirullah, he doesn't claim it. Bro, me personally, Bengali food's too hot for me.
Too hot.
Too spicy.
You can't take the spice.
Bengali food is banging. No offense, brother. Bengali food is 10-10. Pakistani food 11-10.
Agreed.
You see what I mean? Paki food is, sorry. Pakistani food is like... I do apologize.
You apologize, it's fine.
I apologize.
Okay.
Pakistani food is, for me, perfect blend between spice, flavor, that kind of stuff.
Was it what you wanted to have after the competition? It was jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it was.
You won the competition, innit?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I won the
Yeah.
competition.
Medal.
And no, so what it was, bro, like there were meant to be more people who entered from out of town, and they didn't show up. So no one showed up from my category. On the
So you won by default.
no, so what happened? What happened was they did absolute, so different weight classes, all for the adults. So it went on like that. So alhamdulillah, I won that one. Yeah.
What belt are you?
I'm a blue belt at the moment.
Blue belt.
Inshallah,
Which
purple coming soon.
in jiu-jitsu means
In
I don't know,
jiu-jitsu,
I had white and 2 stripes. That's as far as I went.
bro, apparently it's meant to go like each belt is meant to be 2 years on paper. I've done a lot longer than 2 years, so I assume BJJ guys know better than me. If you're doing 2 years, 5 times a week, something like that, 4 or 5 times a week proper, then it should take you 2 years for each belt. So black belt, in theory, you should get in 10 years.
But what's above blue? Is it
Purple,
Purple, then
brown,
black.
then black. Yeah,
And beneath blue is
white.
oh, is it?
You start at white.
I know, bro. I got 2 stripes.
Yeah, you start at white belt.
Long time ago.
I don't do the stripes, so I don't do gi.
How is it?
I only do the no gi.
Oh.
So no. It's with our local Muslim coach. So he does the gi and the no gi. I've never done gi. So he just assesses my belt based off how I'm doing in the no gi.
Did it come in handy though?
What's that?
Real question. When the UK riots happened, did the BJJ come in handy in real life, or is BJJ just for if you get dropped on the floor?
Oh, you mean would it come in handy?
Did it come in handy?
So there are 2 separate questions.
Did it come in handy?
So did it come in handy? No, alhamdulillah, it didn't have to come in
Didn't
handy.
have to.
Right? Would it come in handy? Most definitely, bro. This is a statistic I'm going to make up on the spot. 93% of all street fights end up on the floor. Or at the very least, they end up with,
Only BJJ fighters did this.
well, look at every guy that's got knocked out. They're not getting knocked out, just from 1 or 2 punches, are they? Very rare. 7% is that. 7%.
That was the typical.
7, it's just
93,
minus
or
100 minus 93. Quick math, bro. What it is, like, if you're good enough to knock someone out with 1, 2, 3 punches, you can keep your distance, whatever. Head kick, if you're that good, fair enough. But, bro, most likely, you throw a strike, you're in a distance now where your opponent, your enemy, whatever, holds you. That's where the grappling starts, isn't it? So, it's very important, man. Very important. My personal opinion, any sons specifically that, and to be honest, bro, in this day and age, even daughters that you have, they should have a wrestling base, in my humble opinion. And then boxing. If you're good with your hand, then you're good with your wrestling. Generally, you can, once again, another statistic, you can defeat probably 96% of the population, 50% of them being women, obviously, and the other 46 being men. And the 4% of men that are like your extra caliber of men, you're going to have problems with them. But generally, you can handle yourself.
So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another podcast of the MO, where we talk about what the Ummah needs to hear, not just what we want to hear. Today with us is Brother Luqman Muqeem from Stoke-on-Trent, which is a city in the north of England. You accept it's the north?
No,
it is further north in the Midlands.
No, it's part of the Midlands.
Okay, fine.
Part of the West Midlands.
All right, West Midlands. North of London, north of England. The subject is the UK riots. Yeah, very important subject. It just passed. And that's really the main reason why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Luqman is an activist online with a large following. He was even mentioned by Piers Morgan.
I was.
That period when Piers Morgan was getting slapped up by every guest that he brought on to talk about Palestine. We won't talk about historic affiliations because it's irrelevant to the subject today. We bumped in at a wedding and it was necessary to bring you down because you are from Stoke, where the alleged Muslim Defence League was established. So this is on topic, very important to talk about. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and spread this as far wide as possible. The subject of the UK riots specifically was seen across the globe. A lot of people are interested in what happened in the UK. We have someone who was in the eye of the storm.
I wouldn't call it the eye of the storm. I was an overviewing eye.
Right, but I think the first step really is to understand where this came from. And it didn't come from the Muslims. The Muslims were reacting. It came from, well, in the words of the Prime Minister of the UK, far-right thugs. Do you agree with that? They were far-right thugs.
I mean, let's just...
Thuggies, yeah? Because that's like, I think, our original Hindu term. It's a Hindi Urdu word, originally.
Thuggy.
Thuggy, yeah.
I've never heard that in the...
Yeah. The English took it from India when they were there.
Okay, because
they didn't have a word for it before.
It's probably the adjective that the Indians used for the British, right?
Maybe.
When they colonized, most likely. But I mean, in terms of where it started and thugs and this kind of stuff, there was like that initiation kind of event that happened in Southport, where those three little girls were unalived. It's going on TikTok, right? And on the back of that, there was rumors spreading that the attacker was a Muslim, and then let's just go and lash out our
a Muslim
anger.
immigrant, yeah, that's what
Muslim illegal immigrant
from Syria as well.
Was it from Syria?
Yeah, and
Ali al-Shaqati.
Yeah, they gave him a name.
They gave him a name. I mean, it's a pretty good name. Ali al-Shaqati is. I was convinced.
I don't know what Shaqati means, bro.
I don't know what it means, but it sounds Arab enough, Muslim enough. And what happened on the back of that, you had basically massive riots going on in Southport.
Southport first, yeah.
Mashed up a masjid. They targeted Muslims and this kind of stuff. And essentially it grew. I mean, then news came out. I think maybe it was about a week late. That actually it wasn't.
No, it was a few days. I think during that time there was a lot going on. It felt like a long time because there was stuff happening by the hour.
Yeah.
Especially when they started to attack other cities in the following days.
Yeah.
But it was within days that they declared that it was a Rwandan born in Cardiff. Yeah, from a predominantly Christian family.
Yeah, he was a British citizen.
Yeah, and he wasn't an immigrant.
He wasn't an immigrant.
He wasn't a Muslim. He wasn't Syrian.
He wasn't Ali al-Shaqati.
He wasn't that. Yeah. But they still carried on attacking mosques.
Well, the damage had been done then. The ball was rolling, and then it kind of morphed from a revenge or a dispute against the attacker of Southport. It kind of morphed into, we are anti-immigrant, illegal immigration. We are anti-Muslim and Islam. And very quickly, bro, up and down the country, you had targeted masajid, targeted Muslim women, targeted Muslim communities, targeted kebab shops, even some of them were saying. So very quickly it spiraled out of control into a large, thuggish, quote-unquote, attack on the Muslim community. The reason why I use quote-unquote, I mean, when we talk about thug, we've got a very specific image in mind. Do you see what I mean? That the only people that have perpetrated these crimes and attacks on the Muslim community are your, right-wing, thuggish, football hooligan, tatted up, alcoholic kind of lower class segment of society that have got problems with, previous problems with domestic violence and crime and this kind of stuff, and they've just gone on a mad one and they've attacked the Muslim community. Actually, no, that's incorrect to put all the blame on them.
What you described there was pretty graphic. It's very specific demographic that you described there.
Well, that
And
was
it kind of fits the kind of people who do attack immigrants.
that was the demographic that the pictures were taken of. That was the demographic that the writers were largely made up of. All the images, all the pictures on social media and on the news and this kind of stuff was of them.
And you're saying that's not true?
I'm saying it's partly true.
Partly true.
I'm saying it's partly true, and it's completely wrong just to blame it all on them. That these people had some kind of misinformation.
Okay, who are them?
Bro, them are the real perpetrators behind these attacks. The real perpetrators who have been targeting the Muslim community for a very long time. It's not your average far-right thug who has, kind of orchestrated.
Okay,
all
no,
these
no,
attacks.
pause there, because
Uh-huh.
this is what's on the mind. I think for Muslims in the UK, we know what we saw, and we know what it is, and we've seen it before.
Mhm.
But for people outside, this is what we want to really understand. You've said far right thug. Yeah, what is the far right?
So what they call, or what is perceived to be the far-right thug, are those who come from lower economic backgrounds, who are basically just seething at the teeth that these so-called illegal immigrants and, Muslims more specifically are coming over. We've seen the clips. They're taking our jobs. They're not even working. Taking our jobs, taking our women, taking our, our businesses. And the average far-right thug is left without jobs, probably because they've got no qualifications.
See, what you're describing sounds like a concerned, perhaps misinformed, white working class person, right?
I would change the adjective. I wouldn't say it's misinformed, etc. I would say
It doesn't matter. But
I'd say
my question was on
they're radicalized.
radicalized.
They are radicalized.
These strong terms right now. Radicalized, but someone must have radicalized them.
Uh-huh.
But is the radicalizing agent here that far rightness? Because far right sounds like an ideology. Are we talking about an ideology? Right wing, left wing. Right wing, left wing comes from the French Revolution originally. People sat to the right and to the left.
Mhm.
That's where it came from, according to the opinions they had, rather than where they came from, the assembly that they set up for the nation. So instead of people sitting together, representatives, MPs basically, because they came from the same town, that's how they began. But then eventually shuffled around to sit next to people whom they agreed with in their political opinions. That's where this idea comes from: right wing, left wing. And when people say far right, far left, they're talking about they are very extreme in these right wing opinions, very extreme in these left wing opinions. But it still sounds like it's a political ideology, Like, what do they actually believe in? They believe in what is right wing, what is far right, as well on top of right wing.
Bro, this thing about right wing and left wing and this kind of stuff, when we're talking about targeting the Muslim community specifically, this kind of sentiment and this rhetoric exists within right and left wing. It exists within the whole political spectrum. It exists within every single prime minister that we've had. It exists in every single top level of the media that we've got. Every newspaper article. It exists everywhere. This thing of, we're just pinning the blame on the right wing, i.e. those who vote more towards reform and the Tory party, etc. That's wrong. Look at the damage that Labour's done. Labour's left wing. Do you see what I mean? So this whole thing about, we're just pinning all the blame on the right wing and then Keir Starmer's going to come and kind of be the saviour of the Muslim community for the next 4 or 5 years. That's wrong. That's a big lie. Somebody could argue that, and in fact, I believe this to be true, that Labour has done just as much damage to the Muslim community, if not more, over the past 20 years than the Conservatives had. And they are left wing.
Okay,
Well,
so allegedly left wing.
Allegedly.
Keir Starmer.
Allegedly left wing, yeah. Well, I mean, even before Starmer,
Tony
look at Blair.
Left wing.
I mean, he said he was left.
Okay, so what I'm getting from you is there's a large section of the white mainly English population, but across Britain, who are working class, who are disadvantaged economically. Maybe a lot of them have poor education. Maybe a lot of them are unemployed, and they feel that the immigrants coming from the outside are either taking their jobs or they disproportionately commit more crimes directed at them. So they feel like it's an attack on their identity as white English people, for example. Yeah, and this is what makes them lean towards voting for parties that are right wing, i.e., their political ideology says that you have to maintain the coherence of the national identity or the national purity of the nation. So, like in the UK, Reform, traditionally conservative, so on and so forth. So when Keir Starmer called them far right thugs, yeah, you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that's just a label he put, which is almost like just a demonizing, dismissive label on all of these people. Is that what you're saying?
Bro,
So they're not really far right. They're just angry white people.
these people have come on the streets because the system has failed them. But the very system which has failed them has tricked them, brainwashed them, radicalized them into believing that actually it's not the system that's failed you. It's not the system, the British political system is not the reason why you are poor and impoverished and uneducated and underfunded. It's because of these Muslims and these illegal immigrants coming over. Do you see? That is why these people have come on the streets. They've been radicalized. They've been brainwashed.
And they've been radicalized and brainwashed over a very long time.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
over the past
it
2
has
decades,
been.
at
Yeah,
least.
at least.
At least.
I think it's longer than that. But,
Yeah.
but you're talking just about the war on terror specifically, yeah?
Yeah, and also if you look at the general demographic age of the people that came to these, I mean, they weren't your elderly generation. Generally, they were your youth to your mid-30s. So definitely since the age of 10, 15 years old, 2 decades later, they've been completely brainwashed.
Yeah, and that's right wing, left wing, conservative, Labour, everyone in the establishment contributed to the demonizing of Islam in the UK. Okay, that's interesting. So we're coming to a point of saying that they were, in effect, manipulated into this reaction. If they really wanted to solve the economic problems, they should be at Westminster, right?
Yep.
Not a mosque in Southport or blocking a road in Middlesbrough or trying to attack Stoke-on-Trent, avoiding Whitechapel conspicuously, yes, and avoiding Alum Rock and all these areas where
That'll be a silly mistake, wouldn't it? That'd be stupid to go to Alum.
yeah. But there was a rumor that they were going to turn up at Alum Rock, right? And because of that rumor, Alum Rock is in Birmingham, with a very large Muslim population. So there was a rumor that they were going to turn up to Alum. I think it was a Sunday or a Monday, I can't remember. And the Muslims turned up in Alum Rock, and I remember seeing this live report by Sky News, where some people there masked up, yeah, and at least I could say they're brown, yeah, because
And you saw through the eyes or
they got masks in it. It's not covering everything.
Well, they're not very good masks, are they?
You can see the eyes. You can see the skin color, bro.
You can wear shades. Can't you?
I think maybe they wanted you to see brown.
Fair
And in Alum Rock, so it must be Muslim. Maybe that was the point.
Uh-huh.
They had Palestinian flags, a couple of them, very very few of them, which seemed odd because these protests weren't supposed to be about Palestine, right? They're supposed to be, those protests are angry at immigrants, and then these Muslims came out to defend the masjid or to defend like a road or a street which has a lot of businesses, where the community is, because it's always been defensive. The Muslims always come out defensively. So why did they have Palestinian flags? And why did one of them come up to the Sky News reporter live and start throwing insults and saying free Palestine, when he was apparently supposed to be there to defend against these far right thugs who are coming to destroy the masjid and the Muslim businesses? Yeah. So Sky News obviously is well known as links to it's owned by Rupert Murdoch, isn't it? So it's well known its history of its demonizing of Islam and its connections, political connections. So when you say manipulation, the white people were manipulating and hating the wrong person, not the person who's caused the economic deprivation. That person's in Westminster. Those people are in Westminster, but against the immigrant. Were the Muslims also manipulated in their reactions and their response?
It's a good question, actually. So, I mean, first and foremost, you don't want to kind of aid or fall into the trap of the media narrative.
Because what does that look like?
What does what look like? The media narrative. The
No,
trap.
the thing, yeah. That I
Yeah,
would say it's a
but-
trap. But what does it look like to you? What would you think if you were white English?
Yeah, I would think, oh my goodness, these Muslim thugs are taking over our streets. Do you see what I mean? They were apparently coming out to combat or defend their communities or whatever it is. But what ended up happening is a very few, and it was very few, let's be very clear about that, ended up doing things which shouldn't have happened. Do you see what I mean? So there were...
Those thugs had the Palestinian flag. Why?
Say that again, sorry?
Those thugs, Muslim thugs, had a Palestinian flag, innit?
Yeah, bro, the ongoing issue in Palestine is still, very close to the hearts of people. Palestine and Muslims is a very strong uniting factor.
You don't think that was this was a very crafted image that was created there on Sky News live on Sky News?
Bro-
For you, the English white person, to think, oh my God, these guys are taking over my country, and it's that flag again.
Bro, if it wasn't orchestrated by, somebody within the ranks of the Muslims, but, orchestrating it on behalf of Sky News or whatever, at the very least, it was a silly image that very nicely fell in line with the government narrative
Which
and
is
the media narrative, which is to demonize Islam and Muslims more. Look, we told you so. The Muslims are troublemakers. Before that, really, and apologies Birmingham, yeah, but before the Muslims of Birmingham come out, and even after, to be fair, but before they came out, it was a very strong support for the Muslim community amongst some of the non-Muslims who were not part of the riots or who were slightly
on
more
the fence.
neutral.
Let's say they want.
Yeah, who were on the fence, who were more neutral. It was very strong support from them towards the Muslim community. And that never falls in line with the government agenda, which is to demonize and vilify Islam more. So these kind of things fit very nicely. Oh, look, we told you so. Those of you who were on the fence, who thought that maybe, these Muslims are all nice or defensive or peaceful, blah, 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 blah. They contribute to British society. Look, we told you so.
Okay, so you think the government manipulated the reaction to the far right? So Birmingham was one.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one in Croydon, where
Another incident?
yeah. So they didn't turn up.
Oh, right, yeah.
The-
What happened in Stoke?
Yeah. So in Wednesday there was a Wednesday where there was the police said there's 100 confirmed protests,
Yeah,
and then they didn't happen.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, there were some small ones, but there was a reaction. People came out. There was a massive left-wing demonstration
Mm-hmm.
in London, but people in Croydon, presumably Muslim youth, maybe some black youth as well, as in the immigrants or the sons of the immigrants, they came out and they ended up clashing with the police
Mm-hmm.
and they got arrested. So
Well-
it wasn't Birmingham, it was Croydon as well. There was
Oh, it happened on Wednesday, on that same Wednesday. It happened in Stoke.
yeah.
There were, I'd say, about 200-300 youth that turned up in Tunstall. Shout out Tunstall, next to the masjid. There was a rumor that about a mile or so away, the EDL or whoever it was, these far right writers were going to come and march towards a guy's house who was in charge of visa and immigration. Yeah, for some reason, his visa or whatever business was registered to his personal address.
Okay.
So they thought, yeah, we're gonna have a riot or a protest or whatever outside his house. They didn't show up. There were some leftist, non-Muslim, socialist kind of presence that showed up to combat that, which never turned up anyway. Now, what we decided as the Muslim community, meaning all of the Muslims who were there
In Stoke.
was not to go and confront them at that address. Our message was very, very clear. We are here to defend the Muslim community, businesses, and especially the masjid.
Okay. So let's scratch my previous question. This is more interesting right now. Stoke, that Wednesday was the second time they were supposed to turn up
Yeah,
at Stoke, because they turned up the week before.
yep.
3
days before.
Yeah, right, because it was before the Monday, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was the weekend.
was that
There
weekend.
was a lot happening
Yeah,
that
yeah.
weekend. Okay, now what I saw online
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of accounts which were, you could say, which on that side, the rioting side, saying, and they had these videos of these masses of Muslims in Stoke-on-Trent that were chasing white people.
That was a Sunday, yes.
All right, so
Or the Saturday.
oh,
Saturday?
so you agree it happened?
That was a
You
Saturday.
chased white people.
I've seen there were videos of Muslims running and white people running as well.
Okay, so they allege they were being called EDL English Defence League, but EDL doesn't exist anymore. And as a counter to that, the Muslims in Stoke formed something called the MDL, Muslim Defence League.
Right.
Yeah. So then, ostensibly, you lot, MDL, went around, I'm quoting, hunting for natives.
Bro, that's the most ridiculous thing. First of all,
I didn't even ask a question yet.
what can I just say? We had a native in those protests.
Native what?
Native Englishman.
Who were on your side?
Well, I don't think my side, but the Muslim side, yes.
So they
They
were
were native
they were members of the
Englishmen.
MDL.
There's no such
You mean
thing.
like those Sikhs who are like members of the EDL, like that?
There's no such thing as an MDL, at least not in Stoke.
Okay.
No,
So you deny there's any
absolute
Muslim militia in the UK?
absolute garbage.
There's no Muslim militia in the UK.
No such Muslim militia, MDL, all this kind of made up fantasies that they would love to prove and show. Oh my goodness, we're under attack by the MDL or the Muslim militias. There was no Muslim militia. There was no Muslim MDL in Stoke-on-Trent. There was a Muslim community who came out in the masjid to defend the mosque. It is really as simple as that.
So how do you explain the Muslims chasing the white people?
No, so what? Even these videos are slightly inaccurate. So don't get me wrong, there were some Muslims who left the premises of the masjid,
Okay.
and they did end up chasing off some of these people who were
The
threatening-
rioters. It wasn't just random.
No, of
Natives.
course, no, of course. So what's interesting is that there's actually a funny. I don't know if it's on record or if anybody has any kind of imagery of it. In the middle of all these riots and protests, what happened is there was a white English lady, non-Muslim, and she found herself stranded under a doorway, whatever you want to call it, of the shopping mall in the city centre of Stoke.
Okay.
Her and her two younger daughters found themselves stranded in the middle of all these people, in the middle of all this
In the middle of the chaos.
chaos,
Yeah.
basically. And a Muslim gentleman went up to her, and she was panicking, by the way. I've been relayed this information. She was panicking. Oh my goodness, like, you know, her daughter, I think she was maybe like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11, I don't know how old she was heard saying to her mom, oh, the Muslims are here. Is something going to happen? Is something going to happen? She was afraid that she's going to be attacked. This Muslim gentleman, Allah bless him, whoever he is out there, he had his face covered. He actually went up to the mother and said, look, duck. They say duck in Stoke. Look, duck, are you stuck? Do you need a way out? No problem, Will. So he actually escorted her out of the chaos. No, you know, this whole thing about random native Englishmen and women were attacked and this kind of garbage. What a complete lie. What a complete lie. There's actually 3, they weren't journalists, but they were like activists, a white lady and 2 white men, who were within the masjid car park amongst the Muslims. Actually, there's a video going around, it's on record. In Stoke-on-Trent, they weren't attacked. It was the rioters, specifically the ones who were throwing stones at the mosque. They were the ones who were chased away.
Yep.
Simple as that.
Yeah. Definitely. In the vast majority of these cases, the Muslims were definitely out in defense. So on the accounts which I'm seeing, which were relaying these apparent hunts of natives, yeah, probably one of the biggest ones, and I'm sure you will agree with this, is the leader of the former EDL, to be fair to him, because he said it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
That's not his real name, but Tommy Robinson. So Tommy Robinson has been a very big, important figure and instigator in what's going on. And not just him, a few others, Nigel Farage and a few others, but Tommy Robinson is like the face of it. So, do you feel, Tommy, who is not in the UK, was not in the UK when this happened, do you feel that he is one of these manipulators that we mentioned earlier? He's not really sharing the concerns of the people there. Is he a manipulator?
Bro, Tommy Robinson is the voice piece and the manipulator, the instigator for what the Zionists are doing to the Muslim population
The Zionists.
in the UK. Specifically the Zionists, bro. He is on the Zionist payroll. He's an open Zionist. And even the other one that you mentioned, Nigel Farage, Talk TV, these are all supported, funded directly by the Zionists. Yeah, there's not some kind of conspiracy theory. and not some kind of, TikTok bloody rabbit hole that I've gone through, fell down and then, oh my goodness, there's a Zionist at the end of every TikTok wormhole. No. Tommy Robinson is a open, blatant, Zionist-supported scumbag.
Right. So you're saying there's someone even behind Tommy Robinson.
Of course, bro.
Tommy Robinson,
Isn't
he was in Cyprus, I think,
Yeah.
on holiday, yeah? And there's someone further behind him. And
Bro,
you're saying it's a Zionist.
100%.
This is not anti-Semitic.
It's not-
Because
It's
the
not
Zionists control
anti-Semitic.
everything and they're behind everything. Sounds anti-Semitic, doesn't it? It's like an anti-Semitic trope.
Everything that Tommy instigated on these specific riots, at the very least, have been orchestrated, supported, funded by the Zionists. This is not anti-Semitic. This is anti-Zionist. Yeah, there's a difference, which we can Google it. Google the difference between Judaism and Zionism.
Oh yeah, Google
Yeah.
the difference between Judaism and Zionism. So how do the Zionists benefit from this?
Bro, a few different ways, and I mean, we can kind of go down each one in more detail after. First and foremost, there's a war, not a war, a genocide taking place in Gaza, in Palestine, that the eyes of the world has been fixated on for the last, 10, 11 months, right? One of the ways to distract the eyes of the world, because remember, let's be very clear about this, the UK riots were only big in the UK. It was actually international attention. You had loads of Muslims from the Muslim world asking Muslim community here what's going on, and you had loads of the Western, like France, Germany, America. They were keeping up to date with what's going on in the UK. Yeah, so this is a really good distraction to get the eyes of the world momentarily, temporarily off what's going on in Gaza. That's one way that they benefit. Another way that they benefit, bro, punish the Muslim community. Yeah, distract the Muslim community herself with activism, with that kind of social media output that they're doing for pro-Palestinian activities and videos and posts and this kind of stuff. Distract the Muslim community, get the Muslim community bogged down in this tit for tat kind of showdown between the far-right anti-Muslim rioters and the Muslim community. Do you see what I mean? That distracts the Muslim community. It distracts her activism. It points it elsewhere. The fingers of the Zionists, the fingers of the Muslims are no longer being pointed at Zionism, for the moment at least. It's been pointing on these, all these far-right or these thuggish kind of attacks that are going on across the UK. So the Zionists, they work in, it benefits them in those few ways. Some have even suggested that this was a Zionist way to punish or to show even Stormer who's in control, and basically, if you kind of, I think Stormer allowed the ICC arrest warrant investigation to go on.
He didn't block it. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't block it, exactly. So someone even saying, actually, this is the way that the Zionists even basically, give him a slap on the wrist. It benefits him in a few ways, bro.
I think it benefits them in another way as well,
Go on.
which is Muslim activism is one thing. Muslim activism on Palestine has been there for a very, very long time. But for the first time, perhaps, in history, British public opinion probably changed this time around against the Zionists.
Yes.
There was hints of it in 2021, if you remember, that the Zionist narrative was breaking down, that this is our land from 3,000 years ago, and we are Masakin who came from the Holocaust, and we needed the home, and there was no one there anyway. Yeah,
Empty land.
and then suddenly the Arabs attacked us for no reason.
Yeah.
Because they're just anti-Semitic or something like that. This whole story that they're the victims, it broke down because people before were locked into these mainstream media outlets and some private media outlets, but big ones like the Rupert Murdoch ones, and they kept the story. And this is the government story, UK government, American government, etc. But through social media, they saw the reality for the first time. So British public opinion actually turned against them. The massive protests in the UK, majority are not Muslim. Muslims are not that many in this country anyway. So the majority of non-Muslims were against it. So when you do this, it's like they're repairing that old image again. None of the Muslims and the immigrants are the violent ones, are the ones who hate you, are the ones who are here to invade your country. And look, there's Palestinian flags amongst them. Those guys with the masks, like happened in Alum Rock. Yeah. While Tommy Robinson, that guy, he's every few videos of his, there'll be something about the Israelis. So there's an association, not directly said to you, but there's an association. It's a media game, a psychological game. Associate violent, angry immigrants who are taking your jobs, killing your children, and Palestinian activism, while defending your country and being patriotic English, and the Zionists also defending their country or as an ally. So there's an association that's being, but they're repairing that image again.
But ironic, isn't it?
How?
Those who are attacking children, women, taking land
Oh yeah.
for real,
Yes.
are then blaming Muslims in the UK that they're taking the indigenous populations, women, children, and land.
Yeah, and so and as you said, Robinson and these guys, they are just the tools of the puppet master. There is a puppet master. So this is a common thread we are arriving at, I would say. Tell me if you agree with me or not. But the whole UK riots, the one thing the Muslim community can learn from this is reacting to what's in front of you is the wrong thing. Because what's in front of you is not the reality. It's not the full picture. There's someone behind it. Everything that occurred was manipulated, and we need to understand what's going on behind it. Now, this brings me on to the question of our response now. The obvious one was to fight them, right? But there were other reactions as well. Talk us through them.
I mean, to start with the fight them part, I mean, it wasn't as black and white as, you know, get your kitchen knives out, your machetes out, pick the bricks up, but they're bricks, right? And go and attack them. It wasn't like that, yeah? It was, first and foremost, it was a defensive posture for those who were looking to fight. Do you see what I mean? So they were standing in and around their masajid, and if anybody tried to walk toward the mosque with the intention to attack it, which some did, some had the intention to march toward the masajid and attack it, then the Muslim response was that you push them back.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Pros and cons.
Pros is that you've defended the Muslim community.
All right.
And that you've defended your masjid from being vilified and, you know, decimated by these people.
Desecrated, yeah.
Desecrated, decimated, same thing, right? Desecrated is a better word. I agree with you, brother. Another pro would be that you do give the imagery that the Muslim community, as much as it can be, is not a pushover community. Do you see what I mean? We don't just come and get bullied by these people. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that if the state wanted to, they could switch on us just like that. So that's the pro.
The British state.
The British state, of course, yes. The con would be that, bro, even if you had every shari'i and legal right to defend yourself, the media can twist it.
They did.
And they did.
Yeah, Tommy and these guys did.
And they did, yeah. I mean, Tommy's going to pretty twist even what his mum says. Do you see what I mean? But the media and every other analyst out there, they twisted it like, you know, back to front. Do you see what I mean? That, oh, these Muslims, even though they had every right to legally and shari'i defend themselves, media still twisted it.
They made it look like the far right were the victims
Yeah.
reclaiming their country.
Yeah. And the Muslims were the perpetrators of violence and these attacks, which is completely untrue. So that's one response. Another response would be, let the police deal with it. Yeah, we saw a horror show of that in Southport. Do you see what I mean? When the police did deal with it, our masjid got smashed up, which is obviously the con. The pro to that, if you're talking about different pros and cons, would be that the Muslims didn't get involved at all, and therefore there's nothing that the media could use, any imagery that the media could use to vilify the Muslims. Do you see? But who cares? When has the media been so, you know, kind of transparent? When an attack or a riot could take place in Southport, and they will use an image from Birmingham or London or wherever it is on the front page of their, or the thumbnail of their article. Another response, which is stupid in my humble opinion, is that the Muslims don't do anything at all. Yeah. So neither do we say let the police deal with it, and we just basically, you know.
So to clarify, in the previous response, there was liaison between mosques and the police.
Sorry, yes. So the previous response was the community leaders and some of the activists. They you know, kind of work alongside the police to say, look, we'll keep back our youth and the community. You guys deal with it.
Yeah.
You see, the third response is do nothing. Don't be next to the masjid to defend it physically. Forget the police. That's got nothing to do with us. If they turn up, they turn up. If they don't, they don't. I'm gonna carry on having my, you know, ABC.
Mosques is just bricks to rebuild the mosque. Huh?
They don't know. And if they rebuild the mosque, they rebuild the mosque and this kind of stuff. But the point is, that's like the lowliest of. Actually, no, that's not the lowliest. That's the second worst thing you can do, is just sit back and do absolutely nothing. The final response, which is very rare, but it's absolute pathetic response, is that you side with the far right. Or you side with the opposing corner.
Against the Muslims.
Yeah? Against the Muslims.
Yeah.
similar-ish to what Andrew Tate did. He put out a tweet, about he actually he's part of the fueling of the riot that happened in Southport. He put out a tweet of an image of this brown guy with a knife in his hand with a wad of money on a rubber dinghy, and basically said, these people are causing you harm. And again, Tate specifically doesn't really fit into the whole discussion on Zionism that we're having. Here's another discussion for another day. But the point is, these are the four main responses that the Muslims could have had and did have. And they all had their pros and cons up and down the last one didn't have any pro. But the rest had their pros and cons up and down the country.
Okay, so then would you agree with me if we said that the conclusion of the correct response was it depends on the area? It's very hard to say one. Well, there was one which was obviously wrong, but otherwise it depends. Some areas you had to come out to defend the mosque, keeping it defensive. Some areas you work with the police and so on and so forth. But it really depends on the area. You can't give a specific correct response. Would that be fair?
Oh, 100%, bro. Like some areas, they don't have a sizable Muslim population to deal with, a gang of thugs and rioters.
They don't have an MDL.
MDL. No one has an MDL.
Yeah.
Tommy. No one has an MDL. Yeah. But in terms of if you haven't got a sizable Muslim community, what are you going to do? Do you see what I mean? Whereas if you do have that, there is some kind of capability that you have in terms of be in and around your mosque and make sure that nobody kind of presses into the Muslim, the property of the Muslims. The property of the Muslim community.
Right, but the key thing, the lesson learned really is this wasn't just a battle on the field physically.
Of course not.
There was a media battle. There was a political battle as well. So you have to keep in mind that you have to try to beat the way they're going to twist it.
So what we did in Stoke, I mentioned before about the protest that was meant to happen on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
That never occurred. We knew that there was going to be some media manipulation, right? So what happened is we made a banner. We made a big, massive banner. How did it go now? Protecting our mosques. How did it go? Protecting our mosques. Rejecting hate and division. Muslims of Stoke-on-Trent. Yeah? So we had a massive banner like that to show very clearly we are here to protect our mosque. And we are here basically not to be ammunition for causing further hate and division upon and around the Muslims. Now, interestingly, we saw a guy with a camera come and he was taking pictures of all the whole, there was no chaos there at all. It was just a gathering of Muslims. He was there taking pictures. So I've seen him myself. I said, where are you from? Oh, I'm from the Sentinel, which is the local Stoke press. I goes, mate, you're coming with me. So we took him to the front. I goes, mate, take a picture of that banner and make sure you put it in your article in the morning. Yeah, that very evening or the next morning, alhamdulillah, that picture was in Stoke Sentinel. Yeah, which is a pretty. I was surprised, honestly, that he's gonna put it in.
You're surprised the media does anything.
I was surprised that he put it in, but I mean, he didn't have anything else to shoot. Do you see what I mean? Shoot, camera, guys. Yeah, camera shot. He didn't have anything else to take a picture of.
Yeah.
So he put it in. So that's a way that you can have Muslim gathering. You can kind of control the masses, and you can make sure. It's still a risk, but you can at least attempt that the media puts you in a quote unquote decent limelight. Get a banner out there. You're not gonna blur out every single banner and message that people have got wearing on their tops or their caps or their banners. It's just it's a style of getting the message out there.
Yeah, and we need to have the right tools. So on the battlefield, physical battlefield, what you need is to defeat the physical strength, break the other opposition, right? But a political war, you have to break the narrative. So maybe there was a lot more needed from the Muslim community to break the narrative. But I think this is why we're saying this is a lesson learned, that to figure out what the narrative was, which is what Tommy and these guys kept replaying, this whole invasion by Muslims. This was the narrative, and trying to vilify the Palestinians. And that's where your video came in, the TikTok one.
Yep.
Yes, where you...
Twitter one, mainly.
Oh, Twitter, okay.
Mainly on Twitter.
Right, I saw it on Twitter, but
okay.
I think you got more views on TikTok.
Twitter?
Really?
Yeah. So the Twitter one, alhamdulillah, I got over 6.5 million views. The TikTok one got 2.
What's the title of the video?
Muslim Targets Church.
Yeah, watch that. Muslim Targets Church. Which is one of the narratives that Muslims are targeting our church, even though that never happened anywhere.
No,
Yeah.
not even one, bro.
Yeah, not even
Not
one.
even one. And obviously the Muslim communities, hundreds of churches in and around the Muslim communities, all up and down the country. So almost everything, single masjid has been targeted by these people whenever they've gone on their marches and riots and this kind of stuff. But not a single church, except the one that I targeted, yeah, has been even in the limelight at all. It's not even been. It's not. It hasn't even crossed the minds of any Muslims to think, you know what, they're gonna do this to our mosques. Let's go and, you know, brick the church. Hasn't even occurred in their mind.
All right, so this will bring us to a very important subject right now, yeah, and it might be sensitive for a lot of Muslims. So, if you want to go into it, if you want to be succinct, it's up to you, okay? Which is our relationship with this country.
Hmm.
Yeah. Should we make hijra? Should we emigrate?
Out of the country, bro. If, even from a historical point of view, yeah, let's be honest. Our grandparents, if you're second, third gen, whatever, we came here as economic migrants. Yeah, it was a Pakistan, Bangladesh, for example, and even India, Muslims from India as well. It was they were colonized by the British, and you know, after the fall of the British Raj, these people came over to the UK to make a better living. Do you see what I mean? They wanted more money. They wanted to, you know, earn some extra cash to send back home. And lo and behold, they ended up settling here. They got married here. They had children here. The communities within the UK, they formed. Muslim communities within the UK, they formed. They grew exponentially. Yeah. Where today we've got, I don't know how many million Muslims within the UK, 4 million Muslims within the UK. Bro, it was something that should never happen, in terms of we should never have looked at the UK as a permanent homeland. Do you see what I mean? And I don't even think our grandparents had the intention that this is going to be our new land. They had the intention, we're coming over, we're making money, we're sending it back home. What's happened is you've got generations of Muslims after that.
Some of whom who never been back home.
Yeah, some of them that have never been back home.
And there are converts and reverts.
Yeah, and converts and reverts, but even specifically those of, you know, immigrant background. They call this home. I was born here, I was raised here. All I know is East London or Stoke or Birmingham or wherever it is. This is my home. Do you see what I mean? Whereas really, in reality, bro, this is not our home. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, and I know people might say, "Oh, you're a hypocrite, sitting there on your chair, saying that this is not our home," but here you are, you know.
I mean, you don't need to live in your home, but living and home are two different things. Home means your nation, your identity.
Bro, for Muslims, a home is the piece of land where the Muslims not only reside in, but where their deen, their Islam, is the overarching decider for their daily life. Yeah, where Islam is implemented and where the Muslims reside, that is our home. That is our homeland. Do you see what I mean? Unfortunately, here we are stuck in the West. You know, even more broadly speaking, for those Muslims living in Germany and France and the US, Canada, whatever, that we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, where we are here living in the West and we, you know, go through problems like the anti-Islamic riots and the propaganda in the media. And then you look back home thinking it's going to be a lot better, and yeah, you know, I'm going to live the life of milk and honey there. And Bangladesh is going through turmoil right now as we speak. Pakistan doesn't have a clue, you know, which way it wants to go. I'm talking about the regime, the government specifically here. The Arab world, the Middle East is, you know, specifically Asham, is completely, you know, messed up and unstable and war-torn and impoverished. So where do we go? I do apologize. Where do we go from here? Yeah? It's kind of a lose if you live here, and it's lose if you live back home.
Would you not still agree that back home would still be better though? Pakistan, Bangladesh, Egypt, Turkey, wherever.
Look, bro, let's be very specific. When I use the word back home, yeah, and every Muslim should understand it as such. When we say back home, that doesn't mean Pakistan or Bangladesh or Egypt from a nation state point of view. Back home means you go back to living in an Islamic society. You go back to living in a society that is governed by Islam. You're back to Darul Islam. Now, unfortunately, we don't have that today. Do you see what I mean? So we're either living here in the West, or we're living in nation-state models that have got its own problem.
Western colonies.
Yeah, Western colonies. Well, bang on Western colonies, bro. Look at the flipping puppet regimes that we've got in the Muslim world right now. You're gonna go back to that, or you're gonna stay here? It's a lose-lose. Living here, bro, has got its own problems. Do you see what I mean? One aspect of it is the whole podcast that we've talked about, the riots and targeting Muslims and this kind of stuff. A few years ago, bro, my own mum, her hijab was ripped off in the city centre. So all those videos that you find in Stoke-on-Trent of these people running through the town centre, my mum's hijab was ripped off in that town centre, yeah, by another lady. The hijab came to here. So this is not no joke. It's not like, these things, they happen, but it's kind of hearsay and they're never going to happen to us. No, it happens. Yeah, it happened to my mum. That's on one side. That's the physical targeting that you're talking about from these kind of attackers, thuggish mentality, blah, blah, blah. On the flip side of that, bro, you got other problems living here in the West. You don't know if your kids are going to grow up as queer or straight. And what's that doing to the mind of a father, for example? Yeah. All the fathers and older brothers and uncles or whatever listening out there, it goes through their mind as well. Yeah. What is my nephew, son, younger brother being taught in school? Yeah. John and Adam, they adopted, blah, blah, blah. They're reading these books to the kids, by the way. Yeah. And Steve has 2 dads. Yeah. And Lisa has 2 mums. And Peppa Pig's got 3 kote that are looking after their children back at home. Oh, sorry. I do apologize. This is a kind of... sorry, I'm smiling now, but I shouldn't be smiling. Sorry. This is the kind of rubbish that children are being taught within the West here. So this is what you got to decide between. Yeah. Do you decide between your children being radicalized and brainwashed via liberalism or being targeted by a alcoholic thug who thinks that Muslims are taking over the UK? Yeah. That's the choice that you're left between. As a father, as somebody who cares for younger people and not even only younger people, bro, themselves. Yeah. People can act as much as macho and this kind of stuff as they want. I don't walk through the, ill-lit alleyways of Stoke-on-Trent. I don't.
Even with your blue belt. Yeah,
even with my blue belt's not going to help you when there are 2 or 3 thugs with knives. Yeah. Targeting you because you're a Muslim or even targeting you because of crime. Yeah. So if men are, worried about their own safety from, bro, we're talking about the usual population. What if the authority turns on you? Or if the police turn on you?
People will think that's a bit far-fetched.
Bro, it's happened. It's already happened. It's not a myth. Look what happened in Bosnia. Bro, Bosnia, there's no Muslim community in the world who was more integrated with their non-Muslim neighbors than the Muslims in Bosnia were. They married amongst each other. Muslim men were married into non-Muslim. They married non-Muslim women. Muslim women married non-Muslim men. And look how that turned out. They don't give a damn how integrated you are. They don't care. Wallahi, they don't care. If you believe in La ilaha illallah, that is good enough reason for the authorities to turn on you. And they will, and they have. Yeah? So we're talking about the population kind of, you got problems there. The authorities might turn on you. What are you going to do then? Or are you going to call the police? So it's a lose-lose, bro. Up until you don't have your Dar al-Islam, your Islamic society that you move back to, that are the real protection and shield for you, unfortunately, you're snookered. There's nowhere for you to go.
I think this is very important because it's not about fear-mongering, but it's about putting things in perspective. We don't have an easy, comfortable, relaxed life over here. We shouldn't think we have. Because when we start to trick ourselves into that, then we lull ourselves into this like zombie state, and we become easy targets because we don't see things before they even come to us. Yeah, so we can't act like this is home forever. It isn't, so long as it's not an Islamic state, so long as it's not an Islamic society, so long as it's not Dar al-Islam. Yeah, so you have to live here knowing you are in a foreign land. Even if you're English but you're Muslim, it's foreign. They treat you foreign. Yeah, so if through dawah it changes, Allahu alam, good. But you can't live here thinking, "Khalas, I'm here and I'm relaxed." Yeah, and going home may be good for some people. Back home, I meant it here by going to a Muslim majority country right now. I know that's not the meaning you gave it. So that might work for some people. So we can't give here like a right answer, specifically a right action. You have to go back to Pakistan. You have to go back to Turkey. Yeah, or not only you have to stay here and make this a better place. No, but it's just live here. While you're here, live knowing that you are in a foreign land, foreign intellectually, foreign ideologically, foreign religiously, and you're gonna be treated like that. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba were Qurashi in Mecca, born and bred. Some of them from the highest lineages, like Banu Umayyah, Uthman bin Affan, Muhammad sallallahu himself from Banu Hashim, and they were treated as foreign in their own land by their own people, yeah, because of Islam, because that makes you different. That makes you from a different nation. So until we have that in Islam, we're not gonna be safe. We just have to live with that mindset, and there's lots of like community initiatives that exist. I'm not gonna go into it, but there's ways for Muslims to improve one security awareness or becoming stronger, BJJ stuff like that. But also counteracting the narratives that exist in this country, I think is very important. Don't know if you want to add anything to that. Bro, this is foreign land.
Bro, we are like a fish out of water right now. Do you see what I mean? And that fish bowl is not the West, and it's not the current countries that we call, Muslim majority countries. We are a fish out of water. We are just on the verge of survival. Yeah, we are surviving just about here in the West, and we were just about surviving in the Muslim majority world. Yeah? Up until we don't have that real, true Islamic society, we will always remain a fish out of water.
And we will. This is the thing, we have to remember, we will. We will, inshallah. Whether we see it in our lifetimes or not is something else. But this dunya is a test, and we will struggle until, we will struggle living here. Whether in the Muslim world or here, we will struggle living. So it's not to become defeatist. We will have, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, we will see in our lives. But if we don't, our children will see it, or our grandchildren. It's going to come. But until then, you can't trick yourself, lie to yourself to think that, I'm safe here. Just because the police happened not to turn on us yet. Like in Manchester. So what's the MO?
The Zionist-led narrative in the UK was jeopardized. Yeah, it was threatened. The Muslims, alhamdulillah, we were able to combat that. We smashed it. We showed it to be untrue. We showed it to be a lie. The entire, not only UK population, the entire global population, when it came to the issue of Palestine, they were actually siding with the Muslim cause. Yeah, they were siding with the Muslims against what is happening in Palestine. Yeah, to try and further manipulate and bring that back to their camp, they brought about these riots. They funded it. They supported it. And once again, we have the opportunity to challenge that narrative. Yeah? We have the opportunity to get 10 million views, no bragging, on social media. Yeah, we have the opportunity. We can get a message out there. We can combat that narrative. We can smash it once again. The only reason why this attack occurred, these riots occurred on the Muslim community, is to try and distract us from that, to weaken us from that, and to take us away and to bring that entire propaganda against the Muslim community and against the Muslim cause. And we shouldn't buy into that. Yeah, we shouldn't just succumb into a corner and say, oh yeah, you know what, we're going to accept this imposition over us. No, we're going to combat that again. We're going to smash that narrative once again. And I know it sounds strange. I know it sounds weird. I know it sounds, how is Islam once again coming to the global spotlight, even when it comes to UK politics? Well, that is exactly what Islam is. It is strange. It is something which is not, orthodox. It's not normal. Yeah, and this is exactly why our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned Islam to be strange. Yeah? Islam began as something strange, and it will be returned to being something strange. So glad tidings to the strangers, and inshallah we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are those strangers, we are those ghuraba.
فَطُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَى. Yep, Islam will return strange. Yep. With that, I think that was a good wrap up. We finished this podcast. Jazakallah khair for coming down from up there.
Barakallah fiqh. 3.5 hour drive, bro.
Oh yeah, and sharing these stories with us, which I'll be honest, I hadn't heard some of these stories. What I'm exposed to is the narratives that they have, mostly because I'm mostly on Twitter, X, and Elon Musk.
Because you're subscribed to Tommy Robinson, bro.
I'm not subscribed to him at all. He's actually boosted, I think. He's fully boosted. I'm not even following him. But him and the others, they're boosted by Elon Musk. Yeah, and Elon Musk is obviously supporting the Zionists. So a lot of these platforms are outside of our control. And even then, as you said, we were winning.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. So use the platform that we have in the West to further the cause of the Muslims abroad. This is something we have which Muslims back home don't actually have. So while we're here, even though this is not home, we have a certain strength and power that Allah has given us here, and our test is to actually use it correctly. And Jazakumullah khair for listening and watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Commenting is very important. Let us know what you think, what others think, and share it far and wide. Remember, all of us have to work to combat these narratives. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.